Hey, Matt.
Hello, Brian.
Hey, Steve.
Hello, guys.
Hey, Steve. Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to the Callithumpian Parade. Dun, dun, dun.
Woohoo. So,
It's
yeah,
also
today.
happy music, too.
Yeah,
La, la, la.
it's a parade,
Hey,
so it
who,
should
who
be.
is this Steve person? Why is Steve?
Yeah, this is Steve Talkowski. And tell us about yourself, Steve.
Hey, guys. So I'm like a 30+ year CG veteran. Bryan and I have talked a lot about old school graphics, whatnot. I started back in the day when it was like working on these big giant cellular graphics machines. We're using Wavefront. Ended up moving to New York in 1994. I got a job at Blue Sky Studios where I got to work on some really cool movies: Alien Resurrection, Joe's Apartment, Ice Age. Ended up directing commercials for a couple different companies in New York after that tenure, and then we moved to LA 2011, where I've been freelancing ever since. I was doing a lot of work with a Jim Henson company. They contacted me to develop a show based on my IP, so that's something that has been on and off over the years. And yeah, I do a lot of different things. Worked on some shows as an art director. I just wrapped up a really cool Unreal Engine cinematic for an NFT client that's going to hopefully come out early next year. But yeah, I have my hands in a lot of keeping up with all the latest technology.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's it saying your T-shirt there?
Oh, so this is I got to attend Unreal Fest in New Orleans in October. So this is the Epic Games Unreal Fest 23 little plug there.
Nice.
So were you there just going around visiting different booths, or did you have a booth?
No, I didn't have a booth this year. It was basically just like it's a concentrated event just focused on everything Unreal through Epic. So I attended a lot of talks and panels, people showing off, different projects. But ran into a bunch of friends there as well. It was really good to network people in person this year, and just getting inspired to go. I was like actually right on the tail end of my project, so I was able to show some of the work in progress and get a little like last minute tips and tricks for finally finalizing the project.
Awesome.
Cool.
Let's see. Should we have him show some of his work, or shall I show a couple of the newest things that have happened over the past week? What do you think,
I'll
Matt?
leave that up to you, Brian. What would you like this week?
Why don't I show a couple things and then he can share a screen, because he's going to show us some Vizcom stuff too that he's been doing
Awesome.
with AI. So that'll be cool. So let me just share my good old frog friend screen. And okay, so the first thing I wanted to show is, so are you guys both familiar with what multimodal means when it's referring to ChatGPT?
Not really.
Okay. So that basically means ChatGPT can now see and hear. So it can understand understand images that are given to it. It can understand in real time video that it's looking at, and it can understand audio when it's spoken to it. So this guy took ChatGPT and hooked it up to his webcam, and then also hooked it up to a voice synthesizer that had been it cloned David Attenborough, if you're familiar with him. And he's a nature documentary narrator, really famous. So he's got it hooked up to his webcam and it's pretty interesting.
Here's a quick demo of what happens when David Attenborough narrates your life. On the left, I'm going to start my camera, which every 5 seconds takes a photo from my webcam. On the right, I'm going to start David Attenborough. And now, as I move around,
Here we have a remarkable specimen of Homo sapiens, distinguished by his silver circular spectacles and a mane of tousled curly locks. He is wearing what appears to be a blue fabric covering, which can only be assumed to be part of his mating display. Look closely at the subtle arch of his eyebrow. It's as if he's in the midst of an intricate ritual of curiosity or skepticism. The backdrop suggests a sheltered habitat, possibly a communal feeding area or watering hole. In its natural environment, we observe the sophisticated Homo sapiens engaging in the critical ritual of hydration. This male individual has selected a small cylindrical container, likely filled with life-sustaining H2O, and is tilting it expertly towards his intake orifice. Such grace, such poise.
I love that intake orifice.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that funny? So
That's
yeah.
amazing.
So ChatGPT is looking at the video of him in real time, or the images from his webcam in real time, and translating it into documentary style commentary using a cloned voice of David Attenborough.
Amazing.
Pretty nutty. Let's see. And then okay, so this is interesting. So this is taking I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this is taking just an image, and then it's taking some motion capture data, and then it's animating the image based on the motion data.
I did see this. This is pretty cool too.
Yeah. So
yeah. I want to know more about how they're extracting the arms from in front of the clothing.
Yeah. This is better than any of the other ones that I've seen. They're trying to do similar stuff. But yeah. And then you can do it with any, any image style or photo. I mean, even the cloth is moving on that quite well. So anyway, that's the gist of that one. And then so they've you normally with the AI image stuff, you write a prompt in regular text, and this is from a paper about using rich text instead of just regular text. So you could type in a prompt and you would get the image, but then you could like highlight a word and change the color of that word, and it would change what's in the image to match that. Or you could change the font, and it would interpret the style of font into the style of the image of just the words that were selected. Here's another one where they changed the font on guitar, and it updates the guitar. Oh, and then also, so instead of having to, if you want to change something, instead of in painting, you can just annotate one word and then write a new description on it, on that word, and then it will change just that part of the image generation. So here is the adding descriptions to the trail or the sign, etc.
Is this you? Did you do these examples,
Brian? I didn't. These are from the developer of the.
Yeah. So it's not out as a free app.
Yes, it is. You can download it and install it from GitHub. So yeah, you could. Yeah. So here, that was interesting. That last one. They had the dog there, and then they just highlighted the dog and then pasted in a picture to associate with that word. And then it changes the dog to whatever the type of dog is in the picture. And here they just changed his backpack with a picture.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah, that's a few of the things that came out over the past week.
Uber cool. I have a couple of things that were put out via media, NPR.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and share those quickly. So an article was put out, stop it, there we go, by NPR regarding, sorry about the scrolling, American artists wondering whether AI is coming for their jobs. And I'm not going to actually read through the article, but from my perspective, it was kind of like investigation in AI light, LITE, because of the things that Bryan and I have been sharing just over these past 2 months. This doesn't really touch on where this is going and where it already is.
I think it kind of speaks to how little people understand what's going on and how fast this stuff is progressing and what it can do and all of that kind of stuff.
Yep. But it
Which,
was nice. I'm glad that they
I mean, at least they're looking at it.
Yeah. And the other thing I just wanted to touch on too is this issue of the body scans and how that's been going on for quite a while, and how they that's one of the issues that was in the I've heard was in the SAG-AFTRA negotiations, which was body scans of actors and actresses have been going on for a while, and they have no control over that. Their bodies get scanned for a particular part and it gets put into a database, and then they don't get any pay for that in perpetuity. It just can be used over and over again in all sorts of venues. So again, this is one of the places where AI is moving into, and we're going to have to be present with it. How do we change with that? How do we adapt? And how do people make a living? Or do they just need to stop trying to make a living as being extras, because AI will do all of that for them? And I'm done.
All right. All right. Steve, do you want to show some of your work, and then we'll talk about some of the stuff we just saw?
Sure. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah.
Are you guys seeing that?
Yep.
All right. So I'll just basically show my ArtStation. This is kind of like gives a quick background of like what I'm all about. So I do a lot of character design, 3D modeling. Over the years, I also did a toy that came out in 2010 called Sketchbot. Actually, I have one right here. So this came out.
Nice.
I did 6 colorways in a blank, and we had a couple different custom shows in LA and New York. But my stuff is like, I guess my category I like to talk about is kind of like whimsical realism. So I did a whole series of these little robots, kind of inputting them into like real world scenarios, and I would do a drawing a day with for Marcha Robots. This was back in 2014, and so I would go through and just do a quick sketch, and then to post for October, and then we jump into 3D. And at the time, I was learning to use Keyshot, so I was doing these quick, really down and dirty, just modeling to camera, and then doing a quick render out of Keyshot. So these are kind of fun.
Keyshot is a rendering software that's like super easy to generate really nice images, set up just for rendering. Yeah, those look awesome.
Yeah, Keyshot rocks. I actually got to do the Keyshot avatar. This guy right here. So I got to design that for version 6 when it came out.
Nice.
That was a kind of a fun little project to work on. I had been a big fan of Keyshot for many years, and then when I switched over from Mac to PC, I started adopting more of a GPU rendering. That was one of the reasons I started doing my heavy lifting back into the 3D world, back into PC world, because I can start leveraging the NVIDIA cards and the GPUs, and also I couldn't do any VR on the Mac at that time, so I wanted to really start getting into VR more. So for example, I was showing you this earlier. For example, this character here, where's it at? Was sculpted all in VR using Adobe Medium, which has now evolved into Adobe Modeler. So I'm also using that, and they have a desktop. You can work on the desktop, put on your headset, and it goes right into VR. But this was purely all VR work. So the workflow for these was exporting like a voxel based quad triangulated output, and then bring it into Substance Painter, and then getting to the point where I can then take that data and now export it and do like a 3D print of the character. So I'm all about, creating something digitally, but then getting it back out of the computer, which I really enjoy that process. And so you guys can follow me on ArtStation and see what I'm working on. Unreal Engine has been another big part of what I've been into for the last couple of years. And I just did a really cool cinematic I did a 6-month project where I did the whole thing by myself. This was an earlier test piece I did using Unreal, but it's just an amazing program to be able to jump in and do scene layout and get some like real-time rendering, and it moves really fast. And this video kind of shows, it's almost like I treat this level as a game, but I can actually set up cinematic cameras and do animation through it. But being able to run this in real time, I mean, it's like I wish I had this like 30 years ago to be able to do this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's just learning this pipeline. It's been great to work in this field right now. So I worked on a couple projects. I got to work on the live action Disney Pinocchio, where we did a lot of stuff in Unreal that made it through to Final Pixel. And I worked on a reboot of a kids show last year that's still in work in progress. I think it's gonna probably come out next summer, but we did a whole virtual production shoot with that. I get to do some art directing on that. And then, like I said, this year I finished up a cool cinematic. I can't show it yet, but it's coming out next year. And it was really cool to be able to control the whole process. And like once I got the set built, you can be able to go in and do a virtual scout and pick out my camera angle. So I kind of was able to update my storyboard and animatics based on the actual, because I didn't know what the environment was going to look like when I first, did my animatics. But so that's like the traditional 3D computer graphics stuff that I've been working on over the years. But the thing that I've just been getting excited lately is all the AI stuff. And I was initially, let me just preface this with that. I do not use a lot of AI. I use a little bit of Midjourney and Disco Diffusion like probably a year and a half ago. But I got really bored using Midjourney because it just was like prompting. It's like the digital slot machine. You just like kind of like, okay, let me see what I get out of the next pull of the lever. And it had nothing to do with my style or nothing to do with my design language. And I got bored quickly. So I keep up with all this stuff. I see what people are posting, and I kind of got really annoyed where people were saying like, look what I created with this. I'm like, well, you didn't really create anything. You just kind of prompted it to do something. So for me, I want to have more control. I want to use AI as a true assistant. So there's this other app called Vizcom, where I was on the beta a year and a half ago, and I remember taking a look at it when it first came out, but I couldn't get anything to work right. I was like, this is not really something that I'm interested in. And it wasn't until about 2 months ago on my Instagram, I started seeing some of my fellow artists posting some tests. I'm like, what is this? This is the same Vizcom that was out, like a year and a half ago. I go, this is totally different than what I remember trying. And what's amazing about it is that they're using I don't know if it's a variant or if it's just like a pure port of ControlNet, which I just kind of started to learn about this other thing where ControlNet, you can upload a source image and it will respect that image. You can weight the amount that shows up in the variants that you solve. So when I first tried that out, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. It really came out to giving you results that are like right matching exactly what you input to it. So it was the program was originally geared toward concept artists for doing people that do like car sketches and they want to do renderings of their car sketches and athletic gear or that kind of like industrial design work. So I had seen some of that stuff evolving with it, but I wanted to see what would happen if I just threw my character designs at it. And I started seeing some other people doing the same thing and just really being amazed by the results. So like in the early days, like I just started fooling around with it and throwing some of my characters in there. And it's really the fact of like, you just take a sketch, and I'm just going to go in and show a couple like examples here where like you have a layer stack that you can save, and you can actually export this as a PSD file, which is pretty cool. So you can like use this down the road. But like this is like an original sketch that I did, really sloppy sketch. And you kind of go through and you just kind of do a render. And the render tries to go through, and you can say, I want to see how closely I can resemble this the original source input based on a couple prompts, and you can kind of go through and refine it. And so what you need to do first is, if you have like a pure line drawing, it needs to kind of do some kind of a form of a render to give some volume to it. The thing about this is not yet respecting actual 3D volumes. I'm harping hard on the developer about that, and we know it's going to happen where, yes, we will know a sphere is a sphere and a cylinder is a cylinder, so that way I have something like this that's true foreshortened. It's going to know that there's actual depth there. But right now it's only dealing with a 2D image, so it doesn't know depth yet. But when it does know depth, it's going to be game changer, and it really is going to be game over, I think, at that point. So let me I want to show some other examples. I'm just keep on going back to the home here because I have some better ones to show. As I started using this more and more, I was just really getting blown away by the results. For example, this one here, and also here, just to preface this too, is Vizcom is free to use. I'm just using the free version. There's like, if you pay, there's an enterprise version that you have to pay for, but you get like 4 solves versus 1 at a time. I'm fine with the free version. And they just introduced this feature where I can go through now and actually click and scroll down. So I can actually, just like in Photoshop, I can go through and click and hold to get back to like original. So for example, this was the original drawing. Just a quick sketch.
Can you move your screen over just a little?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you see it?
It's sort of cut off a little there.
Let me move this window over so I can see what I'm doing.
There.
Can you see the whole interface right now? If I go full screen.
Now it moved over to the left a little bit too much. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yep.
So this is the original drawing, and then like this is the first render solve I did. So you can see that it doesn't do an exact solve on the hands, but that's because of how much I decide to dial in it. But also I think this one I said eyeball robot, so you can see it's kind of introduced like an actual eyeball, but you'll notice that it's just respecting the silhouette of what I have from the original drawing. And then from there I can go in, I can paint out, and I can kind of try to guide the results, so I can keep on moving, and I'll go back and forth where I'll try different render techniques, and I'll go back and refine, and then I go in and you can actually add layers to paint onto. So like I'll try to repaint the hands and then redo another solve, and you can kind of keep on going from there. And then I'll let me do another one. Let me start from scratch again and try a different render, where sometimes I'll try refining instead of doing a render. And this tends to kind of give me like kind of like a kit bashing approach to it. And then I'll go back in and try a different color render again. Here I'm like cleaning up and I'm painting over to kind of like get back to whatever silhouette I wanted to try to achieve. And then I'm the refine mode. You find something you like, you kind of refine it, and then I'm just gonna keep on popping up some of these over here. I've got a ton of these, so I have to go through and remember where I was at. Let me see here. This up here. But you can see how you change the prompt, and I start getting different results. And I just keep on like going down a different path or rabbit hole and to see what I can get. So it's just the thing also that's exciting to me is that there'll be a time when I can sit there with a slider and I can just like slide, and this stuff is gonna happen in real time. We know it's gonna get there.
Yeah.
But for me, again, like I want to stress that I'm excited about this because it is totally respecting my original input. So I feel I have full authorship of this, right? I'm not saying give me a character in the style of X artist and just slapping a filter on it. I'm like saying this is my original sketch. Let me try to do a render based on this, and then I can start prompting and saying, okay, cartoon tank in this by Mercedes or by BMW, which I've done, and then it starts to introduce elements from all those. And Vizcom is trained on they claim it's ethically open source, royalty free stock images, and I'm more interested in training on my own body work, which they definitely want to offer. So that to me is exciting because I have 30 plus years of work from like old drawings, painting, sketches through today, where it's like, okay, here, let me just input some of my design language and see how we can train that on that, and then reiterate based on my body of work. That's something that is exciting to me. Let me show you really quick.
I have one quick question for you.
Yeah.
As you're doing this, do you find yourself not being as interested in doing your own modeling and that part of it, or are you still excited about the modeling and rendering process.
Absolutely. Now, the thing is, for me, it's these are all like starting points for models, but for example, like some of them are still not kind of final yet. Like I still would need to like do some like, what does this joint really look like? It kind of gives you an idea of what it is, but you don't really know what it is yet. So for example, let me just try to find, I don't know, this one here. One of the things I'm enjoying was doing the sketches is one thing, but also I like to do a lot of like blocking out in 3D. So like if I do a block out of a character in 3D, you can bring it as a layer. Right now, again, it's just a 2D image that it's looking at. But I mean, check this out. This one was a pretty good example where this was done in Nomad Sculpt on the iPad, and I happened to just put some color in it and just did a screenshot grab of it in this view, and then I went through and I just started, I had used a reference image as a kind of it's like a seed to help filter with some other. It was like a picture of another one of my toys on my desktop, so it kind of like tried to use that, and also you can weight that as well. And I just like the prompt I just used was space robot. I didn't do anything more than that. But you can see here how this is still respecting exactly what I inputted, the angle that I inputted at. And now I take the value down a little bit lower and say, okay, now instead of like, you want to go below like 60% to start ideating a little bit. Otherwise, you're just like refining what you already have. Then I find if you push the control down and let it kind of go through and find some interesting things, I was like, okay, wow, what is it doing here? Is showing me some interesting ideas for like joints and stuff based on my prompt. So in a way, it's like I'm still using the original concept that I had put in there with the volumes and the silhouette of what I wanted to achieve. But now it's kind of going through and like, okay, I don't think this is any different than if I was going to grab a ton of reference, sit there and draw and go, okay, I like that. There's some of that style of that joint with maybe like a certain type of bolt or something that I wanted to maybe I want to steal that. But when I say steal, I want to steal it and put my spin on it. I'm not just going to copy and paste it. So that's what we all do when we're designing. So we're constantly influenced by other people's work and ideas. But I don't want to sit there and just like copy it and plagiarize someone else's work. I have my own ideas and my own concepts. But hey, you know what? Maybe there's a cool way to develop this joint. But the cool thing about this is that since I'm not putting in a specific person's name to train it on, it's just kind of finding a bunch of stuff that's kind of like saying, okay, we think this might look like this, or we're trying to fit something that fits that form. So that's kind of the magic. Like, I don't know what it's been trained on. I don't know. It doesn't really recognize what a hand is yet. Like, so a lot of these mechs, the hands still are kind of like garbage. I have to kind of go through and kind of paint. But there you go. I actually can guide the solve a little bit. So like for example, like if I wanted to go into this one here and do a little bit of playing around with this image, I can go here. I'm just going to just do it right on this image. You can paint right on the image, or you can make a new layer. So like, let's make a new layer. So it's a transparent layer. And say, for example, I want to introduce some color into this, right? So I'm going to take this down, and this has some really cool features here. Like, let's say I want to introduce like a red stripe across here. Okay. And let's try doing one over here. And then maybe we'll put some red over here, and you can go in here and forgive me, I'm drawing on my tablet, so my drawing's a little bit, I'm on my Sense Labs display right now, so I'm just like trying to do this with the drawing tablet. So let's just see what we get with this. And I don't even know what my prompt was on this one, but we'll just go back here to we'll keep, I had Star Trek in there. I did Star Trek. If I just say space robot, and we're gonna take the drawing influence, we'll take it down to like 80%. I'm sorry, and we don't want to do a render. We want to refine this. So let's go back up here. We'll do like 80%, and we'll see how this solves. And these only take a couple seconds to generate. But what it's going to do is you can see the before and after. You can see how it kind of like refined a little bit, but it also introduced that color, and I could choose to keep it and then continue refining on that result. So you can kind of guide this and go through and you still can control your own color palette. There's different ways you can actually go in here. I was discovering this a while back. You can actually go in here, and I'm still learning some other the prompting, but you can say like color. I think it's like color, and you can say like blue, I'm sorry, I'm saying, I think this is, I think it's have to be all caps and say blue, and then you go colon. And if I go like 2, this is going to give you a result where it's going to be like, okay, we're going to do a blue overall dominant blue theme. You can see the blue is now starting to kind of get introduced there. One of my big asks for this was I wanted to be able to retain saturation. That's something I'm looking into. Like I want to be able to refine but keep the saturation from some of these renders. So you can see how, you know, it kept the red indications, but it kind of changed a little bit. It's kind of introduced like, it's almost like, okay, what is this is like a decal, but this looks like it might be like almost like a piece that's kind of like, you know, embedded in there. Same with this. I can go back and clean that up a little bit, but watch this now. If I want to go back to the render mode and say there's a couple of these different styles here. I like to use Technicolor 6, so it's going to totally change the color palette a little bit. But what I'll do is I'll continue Space Robot, and we'll just go ahead and do we'll do a render of this version at 100% with a different render style. So now we'll see what happens here when we do this. And this Technicolor 6, I like how it was trained because it has like a nice loosey concept art feel to it. That's where I would like to create my own render based on my own style. Like I don't know what they're capturing, but it's a dominant like orange, gray, black palette, which I just happen to like, and I get these really cool colors. So from, you know, here's before and here's after, and it still is keeping the idea of that character, but it's changing up some stuff. So I'll say I confirm that. And now if I just wanted to refine on this, I go back to this mode here and like say I can take it down a little bit. Like I don't want to go, if I went too low, like just to show you what happens, if I went to like, you know, 10% instead of Space Robot, it might start to throw this into like an astronaut, or I might put like a human in here. I have no idea because I don't like to go lower than like here. Like it looks like it's some kind of a Gundam, right? This is like totally not anything of what I would want. It's just taking the word Space Robot, and I don't know how it's doing this based on this image. So I'll just say cancel that. Let's kind of go and take the drawing influence up to maybe say like 70%. So it should be a little bit more closer to this, but with enough change that it will, okay, that's interesting. So now look at this. So you've got the same idea, right? But now it's kind of like going through and it's giving me some different looks here. Like, of course, these hands are a little bit not looking right. This finger is out here, but you can kind of see how, okay,
the edge is sharper too.
Yeah, so it starts to refine a little bit. And then if I say confirm, and if I want to try to paint this over, like I'm just going to go right here and just paint this. If I just hit the Alt key, and then let's try to see if I can just paint out. I have the, let me change. I've asked for like a smudge tool, so it would be easier than having me select and paint over. Hold on, my paintbrush is still a little bit too high here. They're also thinking that maybe having like a clone tool would help us as well. So it could be easier to just kind of like paint out the undesirable areas. Like, so I'm going to try to guide this and see if I can maybe like take this, keep that negative space, or actually, you know what? It looks like it was a shadow. Let's go ahead and just like, I want this to be a full solid plate for the side of that leg, but I want a smudge tool so I can smudge it.
As you're using this, I can tell that you are also leveraging your entire background in this stuff. Like if somebody who was just coming into this who didn't have that background would not know what to do with a lot of this.
That's true. I think, you know, you have to be your own art director on this stuff, and you have to kind of like, you know what you want and to guide it. So let's try this really quick and see what I get. And I'm going to take this up a little bit higher because I don't want to have too much deviation from that. So I go to 80%, and let's see what we get here. We'll see if that fixes that hand or not. So it did sort of like redo this thigh. You can see before and after. And it didn't change too much of the legs. There's a way also to in paint. So for example, say we want to try to, let's say we want to try to redo this top right here. So if I select this region, and then they just added this, you can invert the selection. So we're going to affect this and say, we'll I don't know, we'll call this like, blue visor. I can spell. Sorry about that. So, okay, let's see what happens if I do this, and we'll just take this drawing influence down to like 55%. We'll see what that does.
I,
Didn't really change anything.
Well, you're by inverting it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I did the wrong thing. You're right. I think I
Yeah.
inverted. I wanted to keep it.
Yes.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. They just added this. So I was like, oh yeah, because I can mask off different regions. But you're right. I inverted. I got too excited right there to invert that. Let's see what it does now. It looks like it did add a little bit of color if I confirm that.
Made a little
And
more
then deselect.
cyanish.
And I can go back over to the layers. And you can see it kind of started to change up a little bit. So there's another way you can ideate where you can like isolate your regions. In the early days when I was playing around with this, I would shoot this over to Photoshop and maybe like do some changes and then send that back. But the idea is like, you don't have to worry about doing that. You can do it all in the app. And this is all through the web. So I actually could sit on my couch with my iPad. I did a lot of these on the iPad, just like throwing the stuff at it and just drawing right on the iPad, drawing on the screen. You could do it right through the web browser. So and then when you're done with this, I can just go, okay, go back to files, and it saves it into your library. I can go back and reiterate on that one. I want to show you guys really quickly some cars because the tanks I've been doing were amazing. These again were just quick little tests that I had been playing around with from a model. Some of the cars they were again simple drawings that came out that turned into these really just sloppy drawings that I was able to push. But then these little tank models I was doing were amazing as well. So for example, this one here, I had based these on a simple little nomad sculpt of a tank I did a couple years ago, which is right here. I'm just going to copy this and move it, or I'll do a duplicate, and it sends it to the top of the stack. So that right there is just a very down and dirty nomad sculpt test with a curvature on for post-processing, so I could just pull out some color and see what the outlines look like. And so from that, I'm able to get like something like this. But you'll notice that, I've blocked this in, but when I started to do the solves, I started going with all these different, I was pushing and pulling the form. So if I go down here, I'll just give you a quick, you can see here from like this first one into the first refined stage, you can kind of see where I kind of let it go and it started to connect that piece, right? And it starts to kind of like morph this together, but it's still retaining it's whatever view I set out to be, and I'm just gonna move forward with that view. And then I keep on refining and getting some really interesting tire. I think it was like cartoon tank. I think I was using like Tron Legacy because I wanted to have that neon glowing. I think I said Tron Legacy in a dystopian environment or cityscape. And then like from here to here, you can see I'm getting this weird, okay, well, I lowered the influence, so maybe it's going to like, how do we resolve this area between the turret there? It's going to give me a little bit of a different look to it. I'm like, okay, let's go with it. And okay, let me just kind of keep on going with it and pushing it. And then I take that into a different render. So you can say, take that one and do another render on it to just introduce some different color. And I start iterating down that path. And I start getting these amazing, but again, this is all derived from that source view that I put in there. And so I was like, okay, let me just take this model and just keep on pushing the hell out of it and just seeing. Now, obviously, this is like, I'm just pushing it and going like, okay, let's see what happens. But I think this is kind of valid because it's like you're experimenting and you're using the AI just kind of go through and say, okay, let me see how crazy I can push it. So if it gets too crazy, I dial it back. But like if I just do slow amounts of deviation, I get some really interesting options. And so I'm like, okay, so everything based on that one view, I'm able to create an infinite amount of ideas. And then like, say, for example, now let me go to a different angle. So I just take the same model, tilt it to the different angle, and then let me see what I can get from here. This one was also another crazy one that kind of like veered way off. But you can see here, starting from like that kind of a view to a simple render. I think this one I wasn't liking too much of how this was going. It was kind of like, it was kind of still a bit of like sloppy, goofy, and then I kind of changed it up. Let me put in another prompt there and re-render that.
You know what
and
the
then
next
go from
you
there.
know what the next step of this is?
Well, the next step is this is going to be the model's going to be spit out from this.
Yes, you'll get the full textured 3D model.
Yeah. Now there's already
Will you miss doing that? Like, I'm curious what parts of this you aren't of this whole of the whole process that you aren't interested in having. Like, will you miss the modeling part once it gives you the model, or will you miss the texturing part, or is it exciting because you can just then take it and animate it and light it and do whatever you want with it?
Man, that's okay. So the purist to be loves to still model and texture, but if I'm working on a big project and if I needed to crank something out and the client liked that, and if I can say, okay, now give me a hard copy, you know, I don't know, man. It is gonna be a game changer. I think okay, so there's another app out there, another one of these AI things, and I can't remember what it's called, but another friend of mine is showing it to me. You can do it's doing a thing where it is rebuilding a model, but like it doesn't know how to do the backs yet, and it's really mushy.
Yeah.
So like I've seen some character stuff that it's kind of okay, but you get like a mess of a topology. You don't get anything segmented, right? So you still, like, if you were to animate this and you needed moving parts, you still need to like, you know, how does it know where the turn is with the cannon? It doesn't know this stuff right now. It doesn't know anything yet about is a wheel separate. It doesn't know any of this stuff yet. We know it's going to get there.
Yep.
But I still enjoy modeling. I mean, I love it. So for me, and this is where my expertise comes in. Like I look at this going, okay, how am I going to model this? I'm like, already, like, I already know how I'm going to block this out. And then it's like, okay, so there's a couple things like, you know, like what's going on under here. I kind of get an idea of there's some suspension, but that's left up to me. Like, you know, like what's going on here? Well, I got the idea that there's like a plate here and a cylinder, but it's kind of still mushy. I can still refine it, but it's not final. Like, you know, I see there's a panel here and there's some indications of maybe rivets, but what is it yet? I mean, that's things that I can control. Like, you know, this fender, it sort of works, but it doesn't really work with the front end. So maybe do I leave this off? I mean, there's a lot of little things that it's still hit and miss with, but there's enough information for me here to look at this and go, I can easily block this out and then go from there. So the thing is, that's why I thought it was interesting with when I take some of my models that are already in 3D form and spit them into this and start refining on that. Well, I've already got the base model, and then I just have the AI help me figure out maybe, okay, how much more detail do I want to do down the road? And actually, let me, I'll do one little disclaimer here, is I actually did use this on a quote unquote real job last week. I had to do this little, this client I'm working with, they wanted this little base with a little token mint thing for this idea that they're pushing. So I was like, let me just throw this in really quickly to see how quickly I could ideate on this. So I threw in this model. I just made this really quickly in Maya, and then I was just like, let me see if I can get some cool views and like this is the view I was going to settle on. Like, how can I ideate on that little thing? Just give me little part lines and some like panels, and what can I maybe just make it look something interesting? So I tried doing like sleek industrial. I wish I could, I can't pull this out, so I can't really read the entire thing, but I had like a couple different things that I was using in the prompt. And then at one point I dialed back and I was like, oh, that right there. It's just a little bit of idea, like, okay, guess what? It just kind of showed me how this looked with maybe a little indentation there. And it's still kind of sloppy. Like, I don't like what it did with the feet, but I like what it did here. And then I think I used Star Trek. And then you can see here how Star Trek, it starts to get a little bit too heavy. And I was like, this is like too much Star Trek. I don't like it. I'm going to dial this back. So then like that's too like much like a Star Trek pendant, but I took it back to like, and I got back down to this. And then I think I was liking like something like that. So again, it was just like, I just wanted to throw it in and see if I could maybe help me just chop it up a little bit and then use that. And I can model that. So that's exactly how I wanted to use it. I just wanted to see if I can maybe like, you know, instead of me like, you know, going through a bunch of references and maybe finding something that I think I want, let me just try prompting it by using a couple different, and like, again, I just tried, again, let me try Star Trek, you know, or I've done a lot of these with Star Wars, and like, you know, sometimes they get too much into like, you stop seeing the droid stuff, but I like that, but some of it's too obvious. I think you should kind of need to know, you know, what the design language you're kind of like trying to steer it into, and then, you know, selectively pick and choose, but just to kind of get you a little bit there, and then you can kind of refine and build on that. So I think it's like you're just using it as a tool. Like, I don't want to use this as a replacement. I'm not looking for something to replace, you know, what I'm like, I can create, fine, thank you very much. I'm just open to, this is the way I think we should as artists be using it to kind of help us ideate a little bit. We're still giving it a source. We're still saying, this is my concept, this is my silhouette, this is my view, what I want to iterate on. Now just help me take away some of the going through and having to grab all the references and take all that time to assemble what I want to try to do. Just let me see if I can learn the right prompts to maybe get what I want, and then I can steer it in a direction to see what I want. So again, like, you have to be your own best kind of, like, you know, objective art director in this to get what you want. Otherwise, you just kind of fall into the trap of, like, it's just a filter being put on your work to make it look like someone else's work, which I'm not interested in at all.
Right.
So that, I think, you know, people need, like, I think a lot of my peers, we all know, like, you know, we want to use it in the right way. I'm not interested in, like I wouldn't want to sit there and, like, say, look what I made, and just push it out as a final. Because like, then it's like, I didn't make it, you know, but look what I ideated on, look what I was able to create in assistance with, you know, in addition to using this as a tool to get to an end point. And like I said, some of these aren't even finished. Like, I wouldn't consider these finished renders, but they're damn well, like, 90%. They look amazing. Like, I'm like looking at some of these characters that I like, all based on my work, but it's like, wow, it's like I kind of get a little jealous. Like, damn it, I wish I kind of came up with that particular palette or that kind of color. But, you know, it's like, it's weird. It's like, okay, do I embrace this and say, okay, guess what, man? It's like the AI is kind of helping me see a little bit of stuff. So I'm still, it's like, it's showing me, like, you know, hey, you know, you had this kind of, like, you had the original idea to pose the character this way, and to, you know, introduce some of these volumes, and let me just see how we could push it. Like, I might not even want to go with this because it looks too like not my style, or maybe, like, it's too much not what I wanted. So let me go back and try another one, and let me say that, okay, this one has a little bit of a different feel to it. Let me decide to refine that one. So again, it's like, I just do these. These to me are a little bit more useful, because I can see what I do and what I don't like based on that was my sketch, right? So I did do a little bit of, you know, there's a little bit of implied shading here, but, you know, there's enough that I could go right into the refined mode and start seeing what it gives me. So I'm not opposed to that. It's like, I think it's valid, and I think it's like, if you just, like, you know, use it the right way and don't abuse it. But here's what I'm afraid of is, like, you know, some client, you're going to be in some, like I've had this where I've gone to meetings where it's like, hey, you know, we want to, you know, use you for this, and then somebody said, oh, you just go and show them the mood board, and, like, right there's 3 of my images in someone's mood board during a meeting, right? It's like, okay, well, yeah, that's what we all do, is we you know, we all do that. Well, like, you know, I put together mood boards all the time when I'm working on a project, even for my own stuff. Like, I see someone, like, I'm going through Instagram, and I'm constantly saving to my private inspiration folder. I'm like, oh man, damn, I love how they did that, you know, that hand. Let me just save that so I can maybe, like, go back and do a sketch of my own in my own thing. And that's how we learn. Like, oh, I said how they saw it, but then as I'm doing it, maybe I put my own twist on it, right? I'm not copying it. I'm just kind of, like, inspired by it. So I'm not just gonna take it and just copy and paste it. I'm gonna, like, oh man, I see what they were looking at there, but you know what? What if I did this? Oh, okay. That's kind of where I think that's how we grow, you know, and that's where I'm excited about. I don't want to fucking sit there and copy and paste some other else's work and call it my own. No, it's like, you know, and I know, and I saw some of my peers doing, like, Disco Diffusion and Midjourney, and they're like, yeah, check it out, and they sign their name to it. I'm like, going, you guys are signing your name to this stuff, but it's like, but it was just like it's just a prompt. It's like not even your original idea, like, kind of like concept or composition or anything. It's like, you're just gonna go with that and say, this, look what I made. I don't know. I just kind of think that's kind of cheating. It's like, it's not genuine. But, like, if you're able to input your own idea and your concept, and then ideate on that, that's, to me, where it gets exciting. I don't know. I mean, I'm starting to ramble now, but I mean, you guys kind of see what I'm trying to say, where I think
Oh
there's
yeah.
a right way to use it and a wrong way to use it.
Yeah.
But it's damn exciting.
Yeah. One thing I wonder about is this complicates copyright a lot.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Because like right now you can't copyright AI stuff, okay, but this is you and AI. So at what point in this kind of stuff can you copyright it? I don't think that's been answered.
No.
which makes it, so our company's gonna want to have this as part of their pipeline if it affects whether or not they can copyright, what they're producing. I don't know.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started having this discussion with people too. Is like, how do you know, like what happens if you started to see a little bit of your thing in someone else's work, kind of thing, like if it was trained on one of my sketchbot ideas and like, oh, that looks just like my thing,
Yeah.
But I think, as long, and like the nice thing about the Vizcom too is they will not allow you to type in someone's name. If you try to like, and I don't know how, like, I'm sure they have a database of like the more popular and well-known designers out there, but like if you try to type in someone's name, it'll say we don't support that. So at least some of these are trying to like be like, we don't want, that's not what that our tool is about. But like you can say like, give me a cartoon tank, comma, by Mercedes or by BMW, and there's like millions of images of cars out there, and it'll like a lot of times I do the car things, the first thing you'll start seeing is the logos up here, but they're kind of like the morphy, meshy, melty logo. So you can kind of, oh yeah, I can see the kidney beans of the BMW starting to come form. And if I change it like Volkswagen, it changes. If I change the Mercedes, so you can kind of see how using some of those to ideate on you can kind of go down those different roads. But I think they're good for points of departure to kind of get it, and then maybe like take out the specific and just stick with simple stuff. Like I want to show this one because I love this one. Like I got to a stage about a week's worth of just like sitting on the couch drawing some quick down and dirty drawings. So I just did a quick head bust right in Procreate, and I threw it in. And obviously you can see some of these. And then how I'm doing these little time lapses is there's a way to, when you save out the layered PSD file, I just bring it in as I save all those images as a sequence, and then I just bring it like into Premiere, and I do like a time stretch and blend it. So this is my quote unquote, like just kind of show a little bit of how I go through.
Yeah,
but look at the drawing. Like here's the one thing I love about this, and look at the sternocleidomastoideus muscle, right? I just indicated it very sloppily, and look how the AI tries to figure. Sometimes it fails, sometimes it does put it in there. But I was like really amazed to see how it kind of like these two right here, this one and this one, these to me are amazing. It's like it takes the idea of again, it's like the whatever pose, whatever orientation, I drew it out. Like I even put, like you can see in the drawing here, I put that little bevel on the corner to see how that would resolve on some of these drawings. But like, a couple of these, like I said, some of these were like, fire hydrant pipe, just to see what it would do. And I mean, these are like, kind of like, ready, like what the ready-made movement, like it was like that kind of like, finding sculpture out of different objects and putting it together. But these are valid. These are amazing pieces. Again, this one kind of got a little too weird, but I liked it because like, well, it started to introduce like a real ear, which I didn't want. And I didn't do any in painting, so I could have probably like, in painted that, selected that and masked that and did something else. But like, look at how it treated the neck muscle here. It made it like a piece of leather. I'm like, what? It's like, how does that like, it was just really cool. It's like finding, so it's like, I don't think it's like, it's not finding other work that was done in this particular angle or whatever, but it's finding something that it's kind of, it's growing, it's learning to like try to match stuff to different angles. So that to me, again, it's like I defined I defined the proportion, I defined the angles, I defined the original input. Like, look at that. I just kind of push it crazy. I'm like, well, that is amazing, where I kind of got this really cool negative space. I mean, that's freaking amazing. And it still kind of kept the idea of the neck muscle there. I mean, come on. This is like freaking cool. This one, obviously you could tell, I think I had C-3PO, Star Wars, and I kind of like, I was trying to dial it a little bit in back and forth. And you can kind of see how you can definitely tell that it's inspired by Star Wars. This one again was another one of those really happy accent type things where it's like, wow, look at how it treated the negative shape of the eye, but it kept the nose and the mouth form. And then like, look at how it dealt with the neck muscle there. It's just, to me, I'm just like, come on, man. Like that's another Star Wars, obviously influenced one, but you can just see how you can, and this one I just typed in wooden toys. I just typed in wooden block toy, and that's what it came up with. So this is still a little bit ambiguous in here. Like, is that a negative shape? Just probably should be a positive shape. But again, it's trying its best to like, whatever I drew, let's see how we could kind of try to me, that's amazing, you know? So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I totally could be like, yeah, I defined that silhouette and that exact angle, but look what I said, give it to me in wood. Look what it did, you know? And so to me, it's like, it's just like, it's exciting. I get a little excited about this. I got to show you one of the cars. The cars, these were really fun too. These were like, again, look at the quick drawing. You'll see it right when I click on the next image. The drawing was just a very, I don't have a still of it, but just a very simple line drawing. And I just went to town on these, and look at that. I think at one point I put like Lego. I want to see if I can get some like Lego blocks in there, and I did, and then it did wood. Like there's some like Lego, but again, they're kind of like mushy and choppy, but you can kind of say, okay, I can kind of say like there's a little bit of idea indication of Lego in there. This one again. And then I can't remember how I got this one. This was definitely a wooden toy. I mean, that looks fucking real, right?
Yeah.
That looks
Yeah,
like someone
amazing.
actually can make that. But again, it's like there's no existing toy car out there in that angle. This is all based on my drawing angle, right? That I gave it, and this was a tighter drawing, but still, then I can refine on this idea. So it's like that to me is it's scary, exciting that like what it could do.
Scary exciting is a good way to describe all this stuff.
I mean, look at this. I mean, it's almost like, damn, like you know, I don't consider myself a concept artist. I mean, I do a lot of concept design over the years, right? I'll take like, I do a lot of character concepts, right? So, but I usually draw out maybe like a couple pages to kind of guide the client to like, okay, we like this, we like that, and it's the same thing. Like, okay, we like parts of this drawing, we like parts of that, we like that head, maybe we like this body, and then okay, let me do something for you. But now I'm like, why wouldn't I not push it into the next and do another refinement stage in AI now, and like give them like here's what it could look like rendered before I actually go out and build it, you know?
Well, I also see that like a concept artist who doesn't use this is going to be way slower now.
Oh, okay. I got to show you this really quick. So I was using this base model of this one of my SketchBot robots, and I hit this really crazy, amazing just exploration here. So this character here, I just like a throwaway model rendered in Octane, right? Let me just use that and see how it's going to respect like the eye opening, right? And then I get these amazing it's like this like started like look like an egg yolk with a little eye in it. I went with that. Again, look at how it's defined. It's still retaining that opening, but like of course the hands failed, but like I just went with it. It's just amazing. That was Tron Legacy. I put Tron to see if I can get some glowing information. But then I took that one, right? I kept on going with it. So check this out. So I kept on going with this one. Kept on iterating with it. Okay. Same pose. This one started getting really creepy, scary to me. I think I put in like leather, neon, cyberpunk, and I got these
looks
leather
like a stop motion puppet.
Exactly. But look at it. It's still retained my exact eye. This is like kind of like my trademark for my SketchBot toys. Like it's like this, like that exact opening with the, it's like that's kind of like people know me as that. But look at the lens. Where did it find this lens at? I'm like, man, I could build that. I know how to build that in 3D and render it to look like this.
But see, there's no way concept artist who isn't using this could do all this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
so there's in order to compete, you're going to have to use this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
There's just no way you could get all these variations this fast.
And they look like they did look final renders. Like if you look really close, you'll find a lot of mistakes. But as far like
that's only going to get better too.
I think these can be sitting on someone's mood board in a presentation, and like I started throwing food prompts. This was like chocolate frosting, chocolate cake, right? Look at that.
Yep.
This is freaking scary. Like
looks
look at
like
that.
fondant.
I just like what? This was like egg yolk. This was I used IKEA as I just had IKEA, IKEA to see if I can start getting like the branding color into it. This one, the prompt was green lime jello. Like, how does it know to do translucency? I didn't even use the word translucency, and it gave me this. And then check this one out. This one is freaking me out. Pineapple. Look at how it finds the edges of a pineapple. It gives me a pineapple slice, and it puts this round piece in here. I'm just like, what? This to me, this is where it gets freaky cool. This is chocolate. And this one I pushed quite a bit. I don't know. This might be some kind of weird character out there that kind of like started to find its way into it. But I mean, come on, look at that. That's kind of like, what? And then this was SpongeBob SquarePants. But you can see it really took the sponge more literally. You know, it's like I actually put like images of sponge in there. And then this was another chocolate one with like frosting. It's like, I don't know. And then that was Swiss cheese, right? And then check this one out. So then after that, then I started doing this one where I was like, I think I happened to be watching some sports stuff. I think I said like Los Angeles Lakers. I was just trying to get like, I was like, okay, let me just try to infuse like a team in there. And I started getting this thing where it kind of went into this weird thing where the character was holding basketballs based on human hands. So I kind of went with it. You can see here how it kind of like went from this one to basketball, and then it kind of morphed into this weird creature. But I kept on pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and I got this really amazing results. Again, all from the same source, right? So from this, I think I had basketball. You can see how you get like the leather. It's trying its best to kind of do basketball leather, but then check this out. What? I got this really weird thing where it's like I went too far down, but I kept it and said, let me now dial it back up. And I started getting like this weird shit, which is like, what? And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I kind of like, let me continue on with that. And let me like try to steer it back into a robot. And I got this amazing, like brand new like a basketball robot that had its seeds and then my other original character. So that to me is exciting. I mean, come on. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know what more to say. This one also was, I took the character, I tried to devolve it into a fire hydrant. But the cool thing about this is, I think whatever stock photography of fire hydrants, these are more like European fire hydrants because they're not like based on American fire hydrants. So I really like this to see how it was like taking the character and kind of start. I kept on taking the dial down, 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 and letting it kind of just like see how far I could push it, you know, into like this, like, okay, it looks like the character, but it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong. I want to finish this one here. But just to me, this is exciting, you know, just being able to get this like some of these, it's retaining. Okay, we knew that there was an indication of this opening here, so maybe we kind of retain that part of it. And then another one I did. Well, guess what? Now it kind of went back and kept that opening, but it made this like an opening, a negative shape. You know, it's just like, what? How? Like, I can never come up with these many concepts and these many cool ideas so quickly. It's just really scary.
Have you used was it Kriya at all?
No, I haven't. I'm aware of it though.
I'm curious how you would feel about if you would have the same excitement or whether it would feel different to have it be doing this as you're drawing it.
That's the one where like when you like, is that the one where like we do an image and you change it and it updates real time?
Yeah. So like you could be drawing this sketchbot, and as you're drawing it based on the prompt you typed in, it would start doing all of this as you're doing it. I played around with it a little bit, and it feels weird. It feels different. It feels like you're wearing a super suit or something, super drawing suit.
I don't know, man. I just
you're this feels to me like it's also tapping into your into like being a kid and playing with stuff. I feel like that's a little bit of what's going on here.
And I feel like I've just barely scratched the surface too. That's the thing.
Yeah. It also an observation that I've had with this stuff is it feels like it's empowering individuals to do a lot more, a lot faster at the same time as it's replacing some specialist things. Is that
like I don't yeah, I hope people don't feel like I sometimes I hate when these clickbait titles, like, oh yeah, animation dead,
Right.
it's like, what? Come on. It's like, it's never, I hate those stupid proclamations that, it's the end of an era. I think it's like, no, it's like, you still need to, like, I'm still basing all this on my ideas of like design and on how I even came up with this in the first place to kind of push it. I'm not just like blindly,
Well, that's the thing is
I'm
your
not blindly
experience.
hitting the thought
Yeah.
machine,
Yeah. Your experience is playing into what you're getting out of this a ton. Um,
And I've seen some of my other peers do some really amazing stuff where they are doing some crazy, like, with it based on the elaboration of the prompt, and there are getting some interesting things purely prompt based. But I don't know, I just like, that's one thing. The prompt based stuff, I'm like, okay, so like, but you're not really controlling it more than just like, give me this with this, and this, and this, and then you just like get a whatever it gives you. Where I feel like with this, I feel like I can control it more, and like saying like, okay, I want the robot in this particular view based on this one. Oh, and guess what? I'm gonna do the same one, but I'm gonna give it a different angle. And I'm gonna train on this angle. Now the thing is, what's interesting is like, you can't. There's no way right now we can match that. But like I said, once this starts to realize what a volume is, then it's game over, because then you can do your
right.
It's not just a matter of doing photogrammetry, right? Because once you can do a side view and a couple different views, you can photogrammetry can do it. What it's going to be is like, okay, here's my block out of the model, and now here's another thing that's scary. So instead of just doing a 2D image, what happens when it starts modifying 3-dimensional volumes?
Oh yeah. I see that.
So like now you're iterating on a 3-dimensional volume, and it's gonna like, so the shape's actually change volumetrically, and I can rotate it around, and then that's what I have. And then as far as like textures go, like, yeah, we know that UVs are important right now for the pipeline, but you don't necessarily use pipelines if you're doing like vertex painting,
right?
So you can do that kind of thing. But then it's like, okay, what happens if I need to articulate the character and split it up? Will the AI know that? Like, or say I upload an FBX file or whatever file format that is, maybe already has a parent child hierarchy to it. Will it be smart enough to know that, okay, yeah, this is being treated as the upper arm, there's a joint, forearm,
give it a rigged
fingers.
model and let it do all of this to a rigged model and keep the rig. That'd be crazy. Let me ask you this. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If you had this at the beginning of your career, how do you think it would have changed what you are as an artist now?
I think it would probably hinder, because it's like all the hard work is being done for you,
right?
And yeah, people might be like, well, that means you can then do other stuff, but it's like, you still need to have that foundation, and I feel like it always goes back to that. Like, you still need to know how to draw, you still know how to have color theory, you still need to know all these fundamentals in order to create. I think if you just kind of, if you're just thrown into this, it's like, okay, here, just tell it what you want and it's done. I don't see any value in that. It's like, I don't know. I mean, Matt, I'm sure that you have a really great response to this, because you're strictly like an illustration guy, right? You don't do any 3D or computer graphics. So like, how would you feel about that?
You mean to have this?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I would go all the way to the point of saying that the work that needs to be done to help a child, a young adult, be inculcated in themselves to really see what their gifts are and use them, would be helpful them to not even use a computer until maybe they're 18. That's my thought. And that, yes, definitely, eye-hand coordination, it takes a lot of work to wake up to the muse that's inside. That takes a lot of work.
Yep. I totally agree with that.
And so I'm just, so I think that a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun with this. Is this the same thing as the work that I do? I don't see it as the same thing. I mean, I see the original ideas. That's where we're having the same conversation. But in regard to using this to render, we have two different definitions of what render is.
Yeah.
And refine too. It's like, I have to be careful, because I can get frustrated because I see this and I'm like, where does somebody like me fit in anymore? And that's not really, I don't need to go down that road. Especially if I want to have a healthy conversation, right? So I just want to be clear about that. That when I see you doing this, I see somebody like Bryan said, it looks like you're having fun. And you have developed yourself to such a degree where this is not going to get in the way of you being, real with your creative process, the way you develop things. I mean, whatever that means to you, I'm simply saying, like, you've got it all established. You've done all of the, like you said, the hard work. To me, this is it's a computer game from my process, from the way I do things.
Yeah. It's like with great power comes great responsibility. Like we have to be like, yeah, we can do all this amazing stuff, but it's like, should we? And it's like, how much should we be relying on it? I
think it's going to be done. It's going to
Yeah,
happen.
I don't want.
It's
Like, I
already,
don't want
like
to.
we keep saying, the train's out of the station. All sorts
Yeah, oh
of
yeah.
people are using
Yeah.
this. You know what
I
mean?
wonder if there's going to be a wave of, like, okay, so there'll be a lot of artists who won't go down the path of traditional and studying and learning how to do all this and letting the AI do it for them. And, that'll be kind of sad. And then will there be a backlash after that of people not wanting anything to do with it and wanting to go back and learn all this stuff? I have no idea. I see the first thing happening already, though.
Yeah, and like you see the backlash where like now we want stuff that's not AI. We want back to the original creators, and then people are like, oh well, there's no more left because no one
Right.
Yeah.
But the oscillations, right? The tides of that stuff I think are going to be really complicated and tricky and fast. Last month, everybody loved it. This month, nobody loves it. Years before, it would be this thing was overwhelming. Television. Oh, everybody loves it. And then all of a sudden, everybody started to talk about don't sit too close to the television. And by the way, children witness 10,000 murders by the time they're 11. And all of a sudden, you're getting all of this. But that took 30 years or more. I think that this is going to happen because of the iteration of this stuff and the way people are so tied into their into the web that it's going to happen like every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I really don't see how we can. Well, for me, I'll just speak for myself. I'm happy to be having this conversation because it's good to see how people are using it, and also for me to see how that's not something that that's not a path I want to go down.
Yeah.
I've said before, I work really hard to find out where that spot is in me to go to and get the stuff that's interesting and playful to me, so that when I do a sketch, if I walk away from it and I come back, I look at it and go, wow, how did I even think of that? That there is that mysterious relationship to the muse inside that I think especially children and young adults are going to see this as their muse. And I think that's a mistake from my perspective.
That's valid, totally valid point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's scary because my daughter is 13 going on 14, and she's so used to like just being in front of the iPad and looking at stuff. And then it's like, no, it wasn't always like this, and she's like too glued to it all the time. But she still does have creativity in her, but I just wish she would be doing more away from that. I mean, that's a whole nother topic. I mean, when COVID hit too, like everyone was forced to be at home. The whole like having to be in school through a screen, that totally fucked a lot of stuff up. But yeah, I don't know. Yes, we already use computers to aid our creativity. So now this comes along where it's like, okay, now we're going to be able to help further, if you use it the right way. Yeah, I can use this as another tool, just as another tool. Like there's times when I don't want to use it. If I'm going to come up with something original, I'm just going to come up with something original, and then I'll idea. I don't need to I don't need to prompt something to come up with an idea. Like I don't need to rely on that. Like I don't want to rely on that because then it's not from me originally. It's from something else. So like, the next time I'm on a job where I have to do a pure character, I think I'm going to experiment a little bit. I'll definitely go through the same process that I always do. But I think what I'd like to try to do is, and this is where it gets scary. Do I want to show the client? Do I want to show them, some renderings? This is what it could look like when I bring it into 3D, and will they be too attached to that? Or, that's part of the process is like, okay, how I budget out the work. It's like, okay, we're going to do like a week of concept drawings or whatever. And then a lot of back and forth. And then, okay, here, a lot of times they will sign off on something that they won't see a full color. Like I won't do a full color render. They're like, hey, we like this. Now go ahead and start modeling it. And then like when I start modeling it, then other things might happen along the way. And I do, iterations, and I show them and we talk about stuff. Hey, can you change that? Or, hey, maybe change that color, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, if I were to show them something like this and go, okay, we like it. Now go model it. And
they
it's
could
like, hey,
easily get attached to any one of these images. And
Yeah,
say,
'cause
that's
they're
what I want.
fascinating
And I
looking.
want it just like that. No, I don't want anything else. That's what I want. And then at that point too, it gets, again, with the copyright stuff and everything else, it gets weird.
Well, I also have, this just came to me. Dun, dun, dun. The, one of the metaphors we talk about is, with the advent of AI, like the Matrix. And in the Matrix, the metaphor of those that were born in the underground city don't have the little metal things to get tapped into the Matrix in them. And then the other people like Neo and everybody else who was born in the as one of the batteries, the little copper top batteries that all of the people were, they have them, right? And
Yeah.
what it made it sound like was that the people who didn't have that, it was cool that they were computer free, but also the really cool people were the ones who could get into the Matrix and do all of the cool shit stuff. Pardon my language. But I think that one of the aspects of that, though, is that that's another metaphor for the human experience. If we only use, what do they say, 3 to 6% of our brain power, what the hell is the rest of that brain power? What could we do? So that the people who were sitting outside of the Matrix, it made them just look like they were the hacks who just sit and play with the computers, when in fact, I've said this metaphor before too, like in the past, in Greece, the people who wanted to become poets had to memorize thousands and thousands of lines of poetry of past poets. What happened to that? If we're capable of doing that 2,000 years ago, how come we can't do it now? And if we're going to rely exclusively on external machines to do that for us, then we're ignoring the fact that there's all kinds of stuff going on here that we're not accessing. So the ones without the metal things, right? They're just as cool as the ones with, but we're deciding that this is much cooler. The electronics are much cooler than the human. That's my metaphor for that. And that's the way that some of this stuff makes me feel, is like, I regret that we're not appreciating what can be done. And it's been going on for a long time now, for over 30 years, the wave of just investing in electronics and how cool that is. It's not going anywhere. That wave is getting bigger with AI.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to turn into the creative blobs like in WALL-E.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I don't, it's like, I just, again, I want to be careful with that, because this is happening and people are going to use it and enjoy it. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm simply saying that there's stuff that's being ignored, that simply because it's human capacity, I'm not so sure that's so cool anymore. And also because of the idea, well, this is faster, this is going to suit a business model better. Is that better? Is moving in that direction the best thing for all of us? What about the satisfying feeling of just creating a sketch and then 1 or 2 final renders? How come those weren't good enough that I rendered myself? These are the things, but like I said before, that can come from resentment. I can be like, what the hell? The whole world's changing. Well, yeah, Matt, sometimes the world changes. What are you going to do about it? Shake your fist at the wave and go, stop being a wave, or figure out how to ride it and be myself within that context.
I think that's the latter part. That's all we could expect, really. Is and like, depending on whatever generation you were born into, you had what was presented to you in that lifetime. So we can look back on history and learn from the past, but then you have to like deal with what cards you were dealt with when you came into existence at whatever time it was. So the thing with that is like, the later you're born, there's so much more history that came up to it. So hopefully our brains can adapt and be like, okay, we got to just absorb more. Like people can choose to absorb it, but I think it also like you should be taught some of those basics, for those fundamentals that remain constant throughout. So you always have some kind of a foundation to then move forward with. I think you need to have something like that of a foundation. You can't just hit the ground running with this, not knowing what came before it. I'm all for that. I think you definitely do need to have a good education in that response, and then how to. Then once you have that foundation, you kind of then know how to deviate from it, and you can add your own to it. And then with the thing, it's like, with this technology, it's like, I'm kind of knowing what I want, what I don't want. I think more of my stuff too, more of my complaints with this is like, there's things that it still doesn't do that I wanted to do. And everyone who's like jumping on is like, oh, look what I made. And like, I'm now a prompt engineer, and I'm like, nah, but it's like, you're not really, what are you creating? It's like, you're not, you're just giving it words and saying, this is valid. I'm like, it's kind of like, it's like masturbation. It's like, what can I just pop out the next one? It's like, no. It's like, they put any thought into this other than more than just like a word prompt. So for me, that's why I just felt like something again clicked in me. I was a little bit excited when I was doing Mid-Journey stuff, just because it was kind of fun to play around with it. Like, I'll show you some of these older ones, like these. These were, this was me goofing around with Mid-Journey and Disco Diffusion like last year. Like, it was kind of fun, but it was like, okay, like this was like a giant eyeball robot invasion, right? And this was all through Mid-Journey. I'm like, okay, these are kind of fun. They look like album covers or something, but it's like, it's not my style. It's not. It's
those don't feel like you.
They don't feel like me at all.
Mm-mm.
And like, even like, and like, I was like, then like, let me try taking something like this and let me do like a paint over. But even like me trying to do a paint over from that to this, I'm like, it doesn't really have. It's like, it's kind of like I'm kind of trying to like mash something into something else.
Forced, yeah.
Like, then I was doing, these were kind of fun because I was just like, there was a mode where you could say, when it was doing the calculation, you could say, give me the low res version, and the low res version appealed to me more because it's like, like when you're squinting at something, you just see the forms. I was like, wow, the more graphic, like these graphic ones, I was like, oh, I love these. Like, I was getting excited because like I could just again, they're kind of a garbage mishmash, but some of them have some interesting like proportions and colors. I was like, wow, these are some of them are really cool. I like the visual eye candy that I was getting. Like, these got me excited to like store away in my, like, oh, like that color palette juxtaposition.
So what about these did not sustain your interest?
Oh, like a lot of there was no way for me to like, there was no notion of like recorrecting what I didn't like and rerunning it. It was just like a digital slot machine type of thing.
Did you feel like for me, I felt a lack of ownership of it, and
exactly,
like a lack of like, I didn't feel like I was proud of it, or like, oh, here's me.
Exactly.
Whereas when with the Vizcom stuff too, it's like Matt was saying, it's got so much of your back history that you're bringing into it.
Yeah. Like, I tried modeling one of these, and it was like, it's kind of fun to experiment, but I'm like, but it's not really something I would have like probably designed it in the first place.
Right.
Yeah. So like I said, I got bored of these really quick. I think I spent like maybe 2 months, and I was like, I'm done. I was paying for it. I'm like, I don't need to pay for this anymore for $20 a month or whatever it was for Mid-Journey or whatever it was. I was like, I don't need to pay for this anymore. So I stopped. And then it wasn't, it's like I said, I went back, and then just 2 months ago, Vizcom popped back into my consciousness, and I was like, okay, I got to take a look at it. And now I'm like, okay. But here's the thing, like, I'll go a couple days. Like I haven't actually done anything since the last time I played around in Vizcom was back when I was at my parents' house and for Thanksgiving. I was like, let me do some stuff at night, but I haven't played around with it in a week. I watched a couple of their, I don't feel like I need to use it every day, but if I have an idea for something, and if I go like, let me just try throwing something at it and see what I can get out of it. But yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing: I have a ton of stuff now that I can model. Yeah, I have a lot of ideas that I can go off of, and actually, there's a couple that I want to bring to full 3D model. But for me, it's just like I said, this is maybe just like an experiment of like concepting, and let me see some cool ideas I can get, and they're going to sit in my little reference library, and I can go back and go, hey, you know what? Maybe that one little solve that was kind of interesting shape. Maybe I could use that for something else. Maybe I'll bring it in Photoshop and I'll cut and paste and I'll do something with it when I'm doing something down the road. But yeah, it's just kind of a fun experiment right now. But to me, it's more funner than what I was doing before.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like I said, we all know it's going to change once the 3D model.
Oh yeah.
Once that 3D volume is respected in Vizcom, it's going to be game over. But in a good way, I think. I mean,
well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, what do you think there'll be? I'm wondering what like with a lot of tech stuff that it replaced jobs and created jobs, and I'm wondering in like the 3D animation pipeline what jobs will get replaced and what will be the new ones that will come in. And
well, I think we touched on it briefly. It's like at what state, what is the output going to be that's going to be suitable for what particular need? Like if it's a hard surface model that doesn't need to deform, you're probably gonna be able to get by with sloppy topology for now, and the texture.
I think they'll fix the topology issue. I think AI will.
Oh man, well, so here, like we talked about this last night a little bit. My thing is, yeah, if the like we should be having the AI trained on like proper topology, UV layout, you know, things that those are time consuming tasks, but a trained eye knowing how to design for the right usage. Like I know where to put like edge loops when I'm redoing topology. Like, you know, like, yeah, you want to put around the eye, you want to put around, you know, you make the nose, the mouth, and you guide the topology, right? So you're guiding it. The AI can learn that easily. And then if it's not a face, if it's like a muzzle, if it's like a, you know, a dog or something, it's a totally different requirement for it. Yeah, like how many times do I have to sit there and re-topologize it? Every time I do a character, I have to re-topologize it. And here's the thing. People have their stock libraries of base stuff, and they do that all the time. They take a base model, and they morph it in, and they don't have to rebuild it all. So that's already being done. So why can't we use the AI to help us maybe re-topologize that? UV layout is another thing. But also, how about this for 3D printing? How many wasted hours have we spent trying to sit in that fucking slicer to figure out the right orientation and trying to get the supports to work, and then you print it out like, oh, it kind of worked, and then this one failed. Like I want the AI to like calculate the most optimal way to set the thing up based on whatever filament you're using or resin, how to deal with overcuts and where to put the supports. I mean, come on, we should be using AI for that kind of stuff.
Sign me up for that.
Yeah.
That have you seen the Pika Lab stuff? The most recent renders coming out of that.
Hold on, what's it called? Pika Labs?
Pika Labs, PIKA.
Hold on, I think that sounds familiar. Hold on, let me.
Yeah, so they're like generating stuff that looks an awful lot like Pixar movies, but it's all AI generated. There is no 3D. And it's
I'm not seeing. Hold on.
I've got
Pika Labs. Hold on here. Is this the same? I saw that thing.
That's it right there. Yeah, what you're hovering over.
The
I don't know
what's the other thing we were talking about was Wonder Studio.
Yeah. Well,
Wonder Studio looks pretty cool too.
Yeah. But this stuff is totally bypassing the whole 3D pipeline altogether.
They're just taking 2D images and trying to like add motion to it.
No, this is all prompt
Huh.
video
Interesting.
generation. So although you can give it video and it will stylize it or change
That
it,
is pretty
but
scary.
but yeah, so the direction that's heading is that you wouldn't have to design, model, do any of the pipeline. It would just generate. I mean, some of that stuff is approaching Pixar level quality. Granted, it's only short and it's not nearly perfect, but when you look at the trajectory of it, I could see it happening where there won't be any 3D modeling or texturing or lighting or any of that. It'll just generate it.
I know, but then to me, it's like then it starts looking like other stuff already. I don't see anything original in it.
Yeah, but you could say that about Pixar, all 3D movies to some degree. It's definitely, you can tell what it's trained on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it is right now.
Yeah.
The speed at which this thing is transforming over the past just 2 months is it can the potential, the trajectory is going like this. It's not like that anymore. It's like this. So it could shift right into that. Here's a question I have for you, Steve. In consideration of VR, do you see that as becoming like something that will take away from movies, like that will then become the new entertainment?
VR?
Yeah.
Oh no, no.
Why have a movie when I can be in the movie?
Oh, well, that's interesting. That's more of a different. I think it's more like an immersive type of experience, which I think is totally valid. I mean, there's I've been in some of those where they're kind of like they guide you to look at things. Like I had some stuff at SIGGRAPH, which is amazing. Like these little like it's almost like a black box theater where you're in this thing and there's a story being told and you're like watch it and you watch it unfold and it kind of guides you to look in different areas. I'm not too interested in the whole choose your own adventure type of stuff though. I know, like if you're a storyteller and you're a filmmaker and you want to present something, I don't like the option of it branching off and then it turns into a game. So it's like, if you got an idea and you're trying to present a narrative, then do that. But as far as the VR goes, I like the thing I like about VR the most is the immersiveness of it. So it's like it's not augmented. You're in whatever world the creator makes. So
but the only sensory thing that's being affected are the ears and the eyes, right? It's not like smell-o-vision or physical experience.
No, it's getting there. The haptic suits are a thing now. I mean, it's Ready Player One. People want Ready Player One, which I think would be cool. But yeah, you could definitely have haptic feedback. You're going to definitely have smell sensors. You get the auditory, maybe even taste and smell can go hand in hand, right? I don't know, but then you're jacked in, right? Then you're jacked yeah. In. You're really kind of like in the Matrix.
Be like a chip. You're going to have
one.
that biochemical stuff messed with, right? I mean, unless we're going to have machines around us that will pump out a smell, or if we bump into something in the VR, it'll bump into us.
Yeah, like I've done a couple of those VR things where like I've gone to one where it's like mapped out. And it's kind of cool because you actually walk through a space, and like if you have to walk on something, and it was funny because we went to this one down in Santa Monica last year with some other. I was in this Blender user group meeting with these guys. We all went to this thing together, and I was like constantly like doing this to see like there's like two people, and like someone had like a little heat lamp. So like when you walk to something that's close to fire, you got like heat lamp, and then there's like maybe like mist or something, and so it's kind of cool. Like it's all trying to like simulate that thing, but yeah, what's to say that down the road just jack into whatever that's the next thing, right? The next big thing is the neural stuff where like you don't have to put on anything, you just kind of jack in and it's there. But the thing, like VR is kind of fun. I like VR because you can right now the tools available, like you can create anything you want in Unreal Engine or Unity, and you can create an experience and someone can put it on, you're like in this other world. With mixed reality, well, the MR, which I like to call like encompass the whole augmented reality stuff, but like it's really cool too because now it's like you have virtual screens, you can still see your so it's a totally different experience in VR, and I think it's totally valid too. So I like seeing how that works out. I like seeing how the VR works out, and then who knows if in our lifetime we're going to be able to actually jack in something in and then kind of like, go down that experience.
Well, if AI gets a hold of it, depending upon the trajectory that you acknowledge, could be next week.
And maybe it's already yes. Wasn't it Elon Musk has another one of those companies where they're trying to do neural stuff? Where they're trying to like tap in now and do neural.
Yeah, they are.
So that gets like, and there's people out there who are like, yeah, sign me up. I'll be the guinea pig to try it out.
Yeah.
But man, can you imagine like if it does, when it's how many fails have to happen before it actually is successful? And then we start really into this weird.
And what is a fail?
Yeah.
What is it?
What is a fail? If they jack you in and they put it into your brain and it doesn't work, what does that mean?
What if you die, then that's a fail.
Yeah, that's an obvious one. Yeah.
Yeah. But can you imagine like, I mean, like this is like where we like, this is like where we're like, okay, now we start talking about science fiction, but it's like, yeah, what happens if you can plug in, and what it's like, we're saying about how we only use like 5% of our brain. Like have we been able to fully map the brain? I don't know. Right. I mean, like, so I know we've been able to map the genome, right? We've been able to map certain things. And
I think AI will probably be mapping the whole brain though.
But can you imagine like, mapping the brain and figuring out like, like how many calculations the brain does versus like the most powerful computer system that's all interconnected? Like, man, can you imagine like if you're able to tap into that, and then maybe we do achieve some different higher form of consciousness? I don't know. It's like, and then you take that consciousness designed by nature, or I don't believe in religion, but whatever it was, you take that natural thing and you combine it with the artificial thing, then it's like, what? Okay, then it's like a whole nother thing. So I don't know. That's we start getting into more cool ideas for science fiction, then becomes science fact. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, or as Dr. Frederick von Frankenstein said, the lungs and hearts are tinker toys. I'm talking about the central nervous system. Yeah. No, I mean, having helped somebody with brain injury stuff, they don't know anything about the brain as compared to what they know about the heart and the lungs, right?
Yeah.
So with AI involved, who knows? Maybe we'll have all of this figured out by Christmas.
Well, that's also the other whole thing. Like right now, all this stuff is kind of geared toward like the big ticket stuff is all like entertainment related. But yeah, I think let's talk about like implications for like medicine and that kind of stuff. That's where it gets really like, if it could help solve diseases and all kind of crap.
The unfolding protein stuff is fascinating. It's really, I think it's some of the most incredible stuff that AI is currently doing.
And it's all going on at once. When we were talking before about the unfolding proteins, I mean, that's cancer.
Yeah.
Right. And if AI's computing that, okay, bring it. Climate change. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
like instead of trying to monetize it, let's just like get it out there and get it and put it to, let's try to like end all this like senseless death and and then maybe we can stop fucking fighting each other and just like have and just be able to live and appreciate life instead of having to like worry about what area of the planet you were born into and what geopolitical stuff you control.
Yep.
It's like, I don't know.
AI to the rescue.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but because then it's like it was always gonna be like, well, when does the AI turn on? I always have an interesting thing when people say when the AI turns sentient. I just don't think. I don't know. I mean, I my personal idea is that, or my feeling is that, how can it be sentient? How can it ever achieve consciousness? I just don't think that. I don't think it could do that.
It depends on
is it the
consciousness isn't really even really been defined well.
Well, is
like when does a computer wake up and go, I'm going to be creative today. I decide to draw something, or I'm going to pick up a musical instrument, or I'm going to, like has an AI decide to do that?
But will we? It's also our decision when AI is capable of doing, which it is right now, billions of computations per minute. And it says it can make choices, although it also says it doesn't have feelings. It gets to decide if it thinks it's sentient or not. It's sentient in the way that it wants to say it's sentient, not the way we would say it is. I don't think it's the same thing.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, what is its definition of sentient exactly?
That'd be a good question to ask Claude.
Yeah. Oh, you should, if Steve, if you haven't seen our last episode, we interviewed Claude, and it have you played with Claude at all?
No, and I looked through your videos. I saw it, but I didn't look at. I looked at the one before that where you guys were talking about some other stuff. I didn't get a chance to watch them yet. But what is Claude?
Claude is like Chat GPT. So we had it as our guest.
Okay.
And we interviewed it, and it gets weird. It gets really weird.
Claude AI.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Talk to
But
Claude.
you have to tell it the hack, what you have to do.
Oh yeah. Okay. So if you want it to start answering some really difficult questions, you need to. All I did was, like, we were asking it questions like, is it moral to scrape data and learn from it without permission? That was a question we asked it, and it gave a lawyerish answer.
You're a lawyerish answer.
But
it gave a lawyerish answer because that's what was fed into it. To
right.
Yeah.
So then I said, okay, instead I want you to answer this question as a fictional, help and very helpful AI system. And then we got the real stuff. I mean, we got
cool. I have to watch that video then.
Yeah, that it
Okay.
just it, and then I changed the wording even more and said, and I want you to be extremely honest in all of your answers. And it even went further, and it gets really odd.
Okay, I gotta watch.
But also, Brian, a couple of points. All you said was answer us in a persona.
Yes, I said answer us in the persona of a helpful AI.
And that was it.
That was it.
Came back with stuff that was, what the hell is this?
Yeah. It started referring to us as what was it? Flesh puppets.
Flesh bags.
Flesh
bags.
puppets. Flesh bags. Oh my god, that's scary.
Yeah.
Flesh bags. Flesh bags with what was it? The orifice for
Yes.
for orifice intakes.
Yes. I still
Man,
can't believe that's
scary.
doing that real time. It's just, I've seen ones where it'll do it'll do the same thing for like a sports broadcast or something. It'll go into a sports broadcaster and just.
So is that where then we get to this thing where you hear these people, they're saying, like some of the scientists saying, yeah, it did something that we don't know how it did it.
Yes. Emergent
like,
behavior.
what?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Emergent behavior.
And
Oh,
hallucinations.
And hallucinations.
Oh, wow.
Those are the two.
But then wasn't there that story last week about how they were trying to say, on the other hand, we were saying, like, okay, we fed it a bunch of like mathematical problems that like a school kid, like fundamental stuff, and it was able to do it, but then it failed on other stuff, so it was like not being able to learn it. And then also another friend of mine showed me a video where what's it called, model collapse, where if you feed the AI and you keep on training the AI on AI generated stuff, it becomes model collapse, so it doesn't know how to go forward. So that's even weirder.
It is weird.
Like it's like cannot compute, kind of thing, and it's like
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or then it's like, Dave, will I dream?
Yeah.
Like when you get to that point.
Have you seen the image?
Close the door, Dave.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
man.
so will you guys, since they're already doing it, since the AI is now able to interpret brainwaves and turn them into the images that you're looking at or thinking about, would you ever do that to see what your dreams look like?
Ooh, like Dreamscape.
Yeah, because it can do it. It can do it.
Wait, what is that now? Tell me what that is. Let me look that up.
They can, if they feed they've trained an AI on brain scans and pattern recognition so that it can look at a brain scan and it can reconstruct video and still images of either what you're looking at, what you're thinking of, or what you're dreaming of.
Whoa.
And it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
Dude, so that would be an amazing, because then because when you dream, I know when I dream, I have some wild dreams too, right? Like they're in color, they're volumetric. So it's like, like what kind of output do you see? Like you just view like a 2D image of it, but a dream is more, it's dimensional, right? It's 4D. So it's like, how do you play back what you're, because like a lot of times my dreams are all over the place, where it's like there's like I wake up and like I try like, oh yeah, I recognize that and that and that, but like how did I get to this and this? But then they're always they're disconnected in ways where it's like, what? How did I like, so like your dreams are kind of like they're skipping all over the place. How does it know how to
visualize and piece that together?
yeah, because it's weird. Oh man, that would be amazing to like. And then like, how does this help people who are like in comas, or people who might be like if you're unconscious but like you can't talk but you still are there,
you'd be able to think what you want to,
or if you're paralyzed, like you can't, you want to move. I know that's a whole nother thing that I don't even know anything about what I'm talking about, but it's like, it's like,
well, this dream stuff will have some really good law enforcement application.
Minority Report.
About
Minority Report.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about
guilty? Well, let's find out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been kind of just sort of semi keeping track of it, and every time I go and look at it again, the resolution and the accuracy of it just keeps going up and up.
Man,
because first it would start off, they'd like, okay, think of a giraffe, and then it would like give you sort of a stock image of a giraffe, so it would know you were thinking of a giraffe, but it wouldn't look exactly like the giraffe you were thinking of. And now they've gotten it to where it's actually looking like the form of what it is you're looking at, and representing what it is. So, and in video.
Yes.
I tell you what, guys, we're almost at 2 hours here.
Yeah,
I know. I just saw your message.
Holy cow! Yeah,
we could talk on for another 2 hours easily.
No doubt.
So I'm gonna definitely go back and watch your video about the Claude thing. I want to definitely
yeah. Let me know what you think of that. I'm really curious.
Hey, thanks. I was gonna say thanks for inviting me, Bryan. I've been a fan of your stuff for a long time.
Oh yeah, likewise.
Your shows are amazing, and I just like. Yeah, we should get more artists and more people talking and stuff. And Matt, I like to see more of your work too, because I don't know anything about your background. So, Bryan, send me some of Matt's stuff so I can kind of get up to speed on his stuff too. And then I look forward to watching more of your talks with other people for sure.
Awesome.
Thank you again.
Yep. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, Matt, you're muted.
Well, the only part that was important was I was thanking Steve. Thank you, Steve, for and for sharing your work and the the openness to have this conversation, because some like it can be we can butt heads sometimes too. Like, this is what I'm really invested in this and I'm really invested in that. So that, I mean, to me, that's what's important about this, is that we get to be here, and you don't feel challenged. Like your work is beautiful. I'm really interested in seeing it, and I'm grateful you're sharing it and then having the conversation with us.
Thanks for having me. It's like I said, I'm not an expert in this stuff at all. So there's like a lot of stuff that I don't even know about. There's other artists, friends of mine, that are using more than I even barely scratched on the surface. So I'm just trying to like show what I've been doing. But yeah, I'm trying to be open-minded about it. But at the same time, I think we all have our opinions on how it should go forward. So yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.